All right. Well, welcome to Two Girls, a Guy, and a TARDIS. This is our 23rdish episode. Basically, this is we're going to talk about the 50th celebration, anniversary episode, everything we've seen about it, prequels, whatever. If you haven't seen it, listen to this after you do, because we are going to talk about parts, and you're going to find out about parts. So if you didn't see it, sorry, but there's your warning. We love you anyway as viewers, as listeners. I'm John.
I'm Nicole.
And that's Sanshoes on Skype.
Joanna.
So, as we all know, 50th anniversary was this weekend. I had some Doctor-themed food. I made a Hand of the Doctor out of Italian bread dough from Pillsbury and some cheesy dogs. And it looked like a giant, huge hand. I put the pictures on our Facebook page. We didn't have chicken wings. We had Weeping Angel wings. My wife made fish fingers and custard, to some extent. Joanna made some lovely cupcakes with blue frosting. Made the frosting herself, too. And we watched it at my place, along with my friend Paul and my wife. Nicole got to see it at the theater in 3D.
Yep. So
we're going to have a nice discussion about where it was better and how it was, where everybody liked it and whatnot. So, first off, did everybody like it?
Yes.
Yes.
I agree. I was worried they were going to botch stuff. I was worried about how they were going to bring Rose back, and I did not have to worry about any of that at the end of it. I was very, very happy with it.
Yeah.
I like
Go ahead.
what they did with Rose.
Yeah, I think that was great. I think it was the best way to do it. I would never have even thought of that, to be honest.
Well, yeah, it was nice not to have to deal with, where are they getting Rose from? Is she from the parallel universe, or is she being...
Is it before the time stream? Is it before she meets the Doctor? Is it... Yeah. And we'll get into that a little more later on. But, how was it at the theater? How did the 3D work? Because I will say I was impressed watching it that it was not made necessarily for 3D, where things are flying at the screen. And I mean, there's a few parts where, okay, yeah. But generally, it wasn't made that way, which was nice.
Yes. Well, in the theater, we got the theater etiquette speech from Strax.
Whoa. Okay.
There was, before the episode, they had Strax tell you, about do not use your mobile communication devices during the theater. And there was, someone, tied down behind him, and he's like, this person tried to send a message to someone named Sweaty 5 or something, and he goes, Sweetie. And they're and he's like, and he now is being punished. And then they had someone else who was trying to record, supposedly being punished. And then it was really, but I was like, I wish they would do that all the time in the theater now. Just have Strax tell you to turn off your mobile phones. But the theater I was in, we actually didn't get the 3D right away.
Oh, really?
They didn't... I don't know how it works exactly, but whatever they're supposed to flip on to make it go to 3D, they forgot.
Ooh.
So it started...
There's 500 angry geeks.
It started, and everyone, you could tell, everyone is because at first I'm is it just me, or is it kind of blurry? And then I look, and everyone is pretty much turning to the people next to them and going is it blurry? And then only 2 minutes in, maybe finally they flipped it in. But it was because I saw someone go, and I'm okay, someone went to go tell them we need our 3D. But I guess other theaters got it right away.
Now, it's in real 3D or whatever. Do you still wear glasses for that? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're nice, kind of electronic ones, aren't they? They're not the paper ones. No,
they're they look more plastic.
Okay.
They almost look like sunglasses.
Okay, 'cause somebody was trying to convince me that when you go to the theater, they give you the glasses you'd have for your home TV, which would be Bluetooth enabled or something. I'm why would they trust people at a theater with $100 pairs of glasses?
They're just plastic sunglass kind of.
So they're more
they
comfortable
look like
than
sunglasses,
paper.
yeah. But we had them on, and I was okay, this is... At the beginning, though, I was it's blurry. That's why, when you were talking about, the writing, I'm when that was going on...
Oh, you couldn't read it. Okay.
No, it was... you could tell what was supposed to be 3D by what was like the blurriest,
Yeah.
clearest, but like right when Clara entered the TARDIS,
Yeah.
they pretty much like a moment after that flipped to the 3D. So we had it, thankfully, because I was like, "There's not something wrong with the broadcast, is there?"
That would suck.
Yeah, I was like, "This is going to be like a riot if there is." Cause
Yeah. I mean, Guinness Book of World Records awarded them largest simulcast of a TV series or TV show episode or whatever ever. I think it was 94 countries, 1,500 theaters, and just millions of, TVs, obviously. Although the UK, I think they said it was the second highest thing on TV that night. The only thing that beat, I think it was 11.7 million, I believe. Or 11, it was like around 11, and the only thing that beat it was Strictly Come Dancing by like 500,000 viewers or something. It wasn't even by like a lot. So, that's impressive numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all part of it.
Yep.
That was cool.
Did you know how many nods to the classic series did everybody pick up on? Like the Coal Hill School was the
Yeah.
original school, and I
And
believe she was
I
in
Am
the.
Foreman.
Yeah, I am Foreman. That
The Trotters Lane,
The which one?
the policeman walking slowly.
Oh, the Totter's Lane and the police. Yeah, that's true. That was in the first episode, I want to say. And also the opening was the classic opening. If you look, a lot of the dates that were written down or times were the time it aired or the date it aired.
Yeah, when he was scratching it into
Yeah.
the wall, the coordinate or the code.
I want to say that was Ian's classroom again, or maybe
it was his
supposed to be.
school.
It was his school, so I'm assuming it was
'Cause they
supposed to
were
be
at
that classroom.
Coal Hill School.
So I would assume it was supposed to be that classroom.
Well, you had
Yes.
the Tom Baker scarf.
Was that Joanna Page? wearing
No.
It's a scientist.
Yeah.
it? No, I know, but what was the actress that played her? Right. Okay. No, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
we're good.
All right, we're good. Anyways, I thought that's who that was. But so we had the title sequence, the Coal Hill School, and if you look on the Coal Hill School, it actually says
Yeah, I. Chesterton.
I. Chesterton
Headmaster.
is the headmaster or something like that. Yeah. So it says Chairman of Governors is Ian Chesterton, and then under that it reads W. Coburn, which people have speculated is in homage to Anthony Coburn, who helped get Doctor Who back on the air, who helped develop Doctor Who in the 50s before it, came out. The Roundlets were back.
And they were in the end, too.
Yes,
With
they
the
were
painting.
in the end.
They were on the
They
wall.
were in the
I
end
noticed
in the
I'm
under
like, there they are
gallery.
again.
In the under gallery. How many people do you think are going to go to that museum now? Was that the National Museum? The National Portrait Museum?
Gallery.
Gallery?
Right.
And go, can we see the under gallery like in Doctor Who?
But
Paul said he thinks they'll put a sign up saying there is no under gallery.
I agree.
So yeah, you had the little round things, the roundlets, and what was great was Matt Smith and David Tennant were like, "Hey, the roundlets! I love the roundlets." So that was cool.
yes, they had. Well, I mean, the whole episode had the whole idea of the Zygons being back, who hadn't
Which-
been there since Tom Baker.
They did a great job with the morphing effect of the Zygons this time. My only problem is they didn't really use them a lot, and really the Daleks were in it even less. I want to say almost because it was kind of the same scene with the Daleks that they kept showing.
Yeah.
It wasn't really, anything major. The episode obviously dealt with the Time War. I thought it was a very good way to bring back Rose the way they did. I
Yeah.
mean, she was brought back as the interface for the ultimate weapon that Gallifrey had, that the Doctor was going to use to destroy the planet. Which really kind of brings all the storylines full circle to the beginning when she looked into that time stream and was able to see past, present, and future. So I thought that was a nice way to do it. We didn't have to. Well, the parallel universe's walls cracked, so she slipped through like in Torchwood, like the rift. And no, nothing overcomplicated. Just this image came from your mind, and this is who I am, kind of, which I thought worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one thing that was really worrying me. I was like, how are they going to work Rose into this?
Yeah. John Hurt was really damn good.
Oh,
I almost wish we could have a series with him now.
Yeah.
I would love to see because you see him at the end of the finale, and you barely see him in the McGann prequel where they have McGann regenerated
Just
to
a
him.
reflection of his younger self.
Yeah, but you don't expect him to be as lively and as how he was, and I thought he played it brilliantly. I loved it. I love the banter between the three of them when they finally meet. Mm-hmm. We find out why the Queen is pissed at David Tennant, or Dr. Ten, however you want to say it.
I just love the way they kind of called out all the things that fans might have criticized about the Doctors. They point them out, like
the timey-wimey.
Yeah,
that was my favorite one.
Timey-wimey. Who does that?
He says
and the
timey-wimey.
pointing of the
yeah.
sonic screwdrivers with the.
Oh, that was.
What are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet around them? I was like, yes, they do constantly point them like they're a weapon.
He's like, oh, put them down. Yeah, one of my favorite lines is when he says, it's timey-wimey, and David Tennant goes, I don't know where he gets that stuff. And John Hurt's just kind of
is there a
screw
lot of
up.
kissing?
Yeah,
is there a lot
kissing?
of this in our future? Well, yeah, there's...
And I think that's how it should have been. I will say this is the first time you had an anniversary special that was part of the timeline properly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, usually they're just like one-off story, like the Five Doctors. I enjoy it. It's still one of my favorites, but it's not like it doesn't. There's no setup for it prior to And Moffat just looked at all the loose ends from the last 8 years. Because quite honestly, I mean, there's still people. I've read comments where, well, it was only an 8-year special. You know what? If you are so still hung up on the fact that 99, it's been almost 20 years. It's not coming back that way. I mean, the classic series has a special place in my heart. My favorite Doctors are Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy and John Pertwee. They're all from the classic series. But you know something? I love the series the way it is. I look at the series and I say, it's Doctor Who and it's going to be different. It's 20 years later almost. If you're so hell-bent on not liking every episode written and everything that's done by Moffat and whoever else, don't watch. Don't let the door of fandom hit your ass on the way out, because quite honestly, I'm tired of reading the comments because you're just trolls. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I didn't like that. They didn't. Whatever. What are you going to do? You're talking about a show that for the first 6 years you didn't even know what the guy was. They created the entire canon of the Time Lords and all that for John Pertwee's era. Mm-hmm. I mean, when Regeneration was thought of because the show had good ratings, they wanted to keep it on the air, and Hartnell couldn't do it anymore. I mean, so before you get all huffy-puffy about, well, in the original series, first off, keep in mind he's visited Venice like 6 times, and yet seemingly never has been there. We've seen Mount Vesuvius erupt 3 different times in 3 different ways.
Atlantis.
We've seen Atlantis a few times. So, just get over it. Enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy the ride, and be glad it's still here, and that there is some good science fiction still on.
I'm just tired of hearing people saying things negative. But luckily, everyone I know has always said something good and positive about it. Most of them.
And I'm not going to lie. I mean, there's times I go, there's things we've complained about, plot holes and such, but that's the nature of the fact that it's 1 episode per week. Mm-hmm. Generally, most people seem to enjoy it. I saw a lot of people complaining about this episode. Well, I thought they should have had the original guys in, and that's my point. It's like, again, my favorite Doctors, I named them off. 2 of them are still alive. Mm-hmm. You could not have them be you could try it. We've gone over this before, but there'd be a lot of makeup involved. You'd have to it still wouldn't look quite right. And according to the 5-ish Doctors written and directed by Peter Davison, they may have been in it anyway. We'll never and probably know. I'm going to ask him that Saturday when I see him.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they could have worked in them somehow to see them. But once Tom Baker walked on, I was like, okay, I'm good.
And what's wrong with just doing it and paying homage to it? Mm-hmm. People, Paul McGann didn't get a fine. Here's Paul McGann's Regeneration. And then there are people who took exception with the counting being off because, well, you can't just insert a dot. Yeah, well, yes, you can, because they inserted the frickin' Valyard into the episode. He's a halfway doc. What's a half? You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Yeah, Tom Baker was pretty slick to see. And that started a whole nother controversy that I've been reading. Listen, people, he was there just for us. He was there for the fans. That was the link between the new and the old. He's not really the Doctor in the future. He's not really Matt Smith. Even though they have the little banter, I'm pretty sure you're not going to see Matt Smith at any point regenerate into Tom Baker.
Yeah, I'm sure they won't pick that up. But they threw in that little bit, like, you know, revisiting an old favorite face.
But it was done for a certain...
So...
It was done to acknowledge things to the fans, is what I look at it as.
Yeah, I'm not sure that really made any sense, but I didn't care.
No, because it was Tom Baker again.
I don't care.
At first, I thought it was going to be Capaldi or something weird, and they were going to do like the Watcher that turned into Peter Davison. Like at first, I thought there was going to be some weird regeneration because I'm like, oh, an older guy. I'm like, and actually, notice I don't remember hearing much about Tom Baker speaking out if he was in or out of this. He said a long time ago he wasn't as vocal and outspoken as Davison, well, not even Davison, but like as McCoy and Colin Baker, and you know there was a core group that were always constantly being asked. It was McCoy, Davison, and Colin Baker and McGann. Are you in it? Are you in it? Tom Baker had been asked a couple times early on, and he said no. And then people kind of forgot that.
Well, they did right before special aired because I saw that they said that he had he was basically just messing with people interviewing him because he would alternate and sometimes he'd say no, but then when it got close to the special, at one point he said, yes, I am. He said, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I am in it.
But the kind of person Tom Baker is, you're used to not believing him.
So yeah, even when I heard that, it was like, is he really going to be in it, or is he...
We need to start recording with his dog.
Like, is he lying? Is he whatever? And I heard he gave an interview, like, right after the special aired and said he wasn't involved. Like, just...
Well, that's Tom Baker.
Yeah.
I mean, and Paul McGann didn't lie. Paul McGann was not in the special.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a prequel. Also, when they get into the TARDIS, speaking of the Roundlets, you had the classic line when they're looking around, and David Tennant goes, "Oh, you remodeled. I don't like it." Harkening back to the second Doctor, talking about the unit headquarters. And then I believe he was talking about Pertwee's TARDIS, too, wasn't he? At one point he said that? Or was it in the future? Or was it in the Fifth Doctor's he said it? He says it. He says it twice, I believe.
Well, they also quoted reversing the polarity,
which I thought was great. What I thought was great about that is he goes, "Let's reverse the polarity," and then Tennant's like, "No, reverse the polarity. No, there's two of us, and we're both we're doing the same thing."
I'm reversing it. You're reversing it back. And they quoted Hartnell when John Hurt's Doctor regenerated with his body wearing a bit thin.
Yeah, there was part of that line that because I think Hartnell's full line was a little different, but that part's the same.
Yeah, but they took the body wearing, because he regenerated for no reason. He wasn't attacked.
It was nice to hear it. I just, and I hate saying this, and fandom, don't kill me. Watching the special made me realize how much I really did like David Tennant. There was something about David Tennant's Doctor to me that, but I enjoy the Matt Smith run. I mean, don't get me wrong, but
I liked that he was back, and it kind of helped redeem him a little bit for me, because I was getting so sick of his Doctor by the end being whiny and mopey, and then
you can blame RTD for that.
Yeah, but then in this, finally, I was like, okay, this is more like how he should have gone out.
I don't want to go. He says he always says that.
I hated that, as we know.
My wife had never seen those. She was like, "You don't let me watch them." I'm like, "They're on Netflix and Amazon. You know how to use the thing. Just watch whatever you want. I don't care." I watched them once. I'm not going to watch it again. Well, it was on afterwards. We kept it on. That episode, it gets worse with age. Like, John Sims is a great actor, and he totally overplays it. Like, the way the Time Lords come back in that episode is just horrible. It's not a good goodbye to David Tennant.
But then I thought, not having watched it in a while, I went, yeah, I'm not exactly sure how this... Because in that, the Time Lords, the war had made them unredeemable. They weren't fit to survive. They didn't deserve it. And then all of a sudden now it's, we saved them all.
But Rassilon wasn't in this.
No.
Yet somehow he was in the other one.
Yeah.
And they didn't...
I kept waiting
don't
for
forget-
Timothy Dalton to pop up. I'm like, is he?
Don't forget, though, in the other one, it was... In this one, we didn't see the High Council. We saw the General, and, you know... In that one, those were the High Council members, too. So, you know, perhaps they were the ones that were more... It sounds like we might find out.
Yeah, I'm.
That was the one part about the Tom Baker Matt Smith interchange I thought was brilliant. Is he's like, so it's out there, and he's like, I don't know, maybe. Which I think is setting up a great storyline for Capaldi to be an intergalactic archaeologist. You know, and I loved people probably didn't like it, but I loved when they were flying in to save Gallifrey, and he goes, all 12 of them? He goes, no, sir, 13. And you saw the flash of Capaldi.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great.
Oh, the theater cheered.
Oh, the look. You know, I think to a point, a lot of fans, even though they really like Matt Smith, his antics have worn a little thin. Like, he's so, at times, clownish, and I think to a point, so like the timey-wimey kind of thing, I think some of it's kind of wearing out a little. And I think people are ready for a change. I mean, he's been in, what, 4 years? He's had a typical run. I think usually after 3 or 4 years, you start getting to the point where with most doctors, it's like, okay. Like, I mean, there have been doctors that should have been longer. Like, I think Davison could have went another couple of years because he had just finally, like, found his footing. I think Pertwee probably had another year or two left in him that would have been all right. Tom Baker should have cut it short by about a year. That last year wasn't great.
McCoy could have.
Had another 2 or 3 years, and easily because he was getting better. I mean, the show was getting better. McGann could have had another episode or 2.
Yeah, McGann could have more than his.
McGann's got like 40 Big Finish episodes. I mean,
yes.
Eccleston could have had another year. You know, maybe 2. So I think Matt Smith is right at the spot. I hate saying this. I hope his regeneration is earlier in the Christmas special than later, because now it's after this little flash of Capaldi, and after a few other things. It's like now I want to see him face the
but
silence.
I think Stephen Moffat announced that they're gonna start filming in January, but then they're not going to air till the fall, so we're not actually going to see Capaldi really.
That's why it's like, can we have him like maybe have
over.
half the episode? Can we not have the regeneration at the end?
So we're probably still not really going to see his doctor until
I think,
almost a year from now.
I think you will. And I think he'll have the bulk of the Christmas episode because Matt Smith did the 50th.
But I think.
But I want to know how they're going to get back to Translore. Because that's the one thing that did kind of irk me is 1 minute they're on Trenzalore, there's John Hurt, he turns around, next minute she's teaching in a school. I'm like, wait, what? They were
in the doctor's time stream. We never
in
saw them get out.
Yeah.
Like, we never even saw them exit the doctor's time stream. They were just
there.
Now
when they
like,
saw John Hurt, were they still in the time stream? Because that was up for debate, too. People were like, wait, is that Trenzalore or are they in the time stream?
I think
because
they were still in the
Trenzalore
time
is a
stream.
burning planet just like Gallifrey was, so it's like, well...
My question is, will we see all that for the Christmas special? See Trenzalore and then everything else that comes with it.
Well, yeah, according to what the after thing said, it sounded like it. It sounded like you're going to see the silence and it's going to be at Trenzalore. I mean, that's what it kind of sounded like.
Maybe Moffat will finally explain why the TARDIS was exploding.
Exploding. Oh, because of the... we'll gloss over that. You know what? We're going to forgive Moffat because he wrote a very good 50th anniversary episode.
I just want him to explain that. Tie up that... It was great. He went back, picked up the thread from the Russell T. Davis
He tied up a good amount of loose ends. I'll give him that. I
mean, he found a way to bring back Gallifrey that didn't negate everything that had happened before.
No, because it still looks like it got destroyed. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like the way they did that.
And nothing, and then Eccleston still would be guilt-ridden because he thinks he destroyed it. And
yep.
I was like, okay, that's great. We didn't negate anything that happened. It wasn't the
Russell
T. Davis reset button.
It wasn't like the new Star Trek. It wasn't like the Star Trek movie from 2009 where it's like, the time stream changed. Now everything's different. No, your stuff still exists in another dimension, but you're never going to see it again. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed it. I still don't like when they say, "Oh, the desktop's glitching." I hate that. But it was neat how they walk in and it's Tennant's TARDIS and then it flips to Smith's. It's like, oh, you've redecorated. I don't like it. Oh, you know what I didn't realize? And I just read this today. somebody wrote about Easter eggs in the episode. If you watch the episode that has Matt Smith and he's on is it Spaceship London?
Spaceship UK.
Spaceship UK. If you watch that episode, the Queen's in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a line where she says, "And so much for the Virgin Queen, you bad, bad boy." That is now explained.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how he marries the Queen. And then I love how he thinks the Queen is the Zygon and insults her massively.
And he thinks the bunny's the Zygon.
Oh, that's the best. he starts giving
Consider
his
this
credentials.
just a word of warning. just general advice. I am the oncoming storm, and you are pretty much just a rabbit. Oh, he could never tell. I love that. He couldn't tell. He could never tell if the Queen was a Zygon. Even in that first on the picnic, the real Queen of England wouldn't agree to marry me and wouldn't do, and it's like,
And then the horse
it's
changes.
the horse.
He's like, "This thing doesn't work." Yeah, no, that was pretty good. I love them trying to get out of the prison cell, and Rose is saying it's the same software, it's the same screwdriver, right? So if you started it, and he goes, "I get it now," and they solve it, and then we
Clara.
flash forward, and Clara's sitting there surrounded by Zygons, who apparently seemingly forgot she was there by the time the manipulator, the vortex manipulator, and they're going, "Ha! We can now travel through time. Everything is ours." And she goes, and they're like, "Wait, what are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, we just put the code in, right?" And she just disappears and then opens the door, which we find is unlocked.
Well, it should have been locked. Like, if you didn't think to check it, it should have been locked. There's no reason it shouldn't have been locked.
Exactly. They found out that the doctor's phone number is the same as it was in Stolen Earth and all the other episodes. Because if you zoom in on the phone that the guy's holding, you can see the phone number come up. Must be one hell of a long distance, Bill. Same last words. We talked about that. Yeah, I was mentioning this offline, I guess we could say, that on the whiteboard, Claire was writing "no more time" on it, which I mean, I guess you can interpret as maybe it was starting to be "no more time war," no more something, you know. Goddamn Fez was back.
Yes. I loved when Clara said, "Are you ever going to be able to walk past a fez and not put it on? Like, you know, you can
Yeah.
do that." And he's like, "Nope."
I'm also surprised that he's still wearing the Amy's glasses because, number one, I just don't think they look good on him. I don't think they looked good on her. Number two, what are the odds that a Time Lord after 9,900 years, or whatever it's been, since that keeps changing too, has the same prescription as a woman in her mid-20s, early 30s?
Gave him something in common with the 10th Doctor.
Did you guys notice all the stuff in the archive room, the black
with all
vault?
the pictures of the old companions.
Oh,
and
not even that. You had that. That board actually had pictures of the old doctors too. You had
and the big picture of the Brigadier.
Yep, yeah. You had the River Song's red shoes. The high heels were hers. You had Amy's pinwheel. You had the clamps from Torchwood that they used in Doomsday. You mentioned the board with a bunch of the companions. I think Susan was on there. And
They were all.
I think
on
everybody.
There.
I think if you were able to freeze frame that,
Yeah,
you would see
you'd
just
see.
about everybody, which I think is Captain Jack's mentioned. Too bad he's not in it, but
Yeah.
where were you going to put him?
His vortex manipulator played an important role.
And again, where can you? I guess how would you really fit Eccleston into it too? I mean, I guess they said that they talked to him and he talked to him and they came to the.
Oh, I thought for a moment there when John Hurt started regenerating, I'm like, did Eccleston actually like film like just a few seconds to finish?
I thought he would have at least done that.
Yeah, and
because
then
he's like,
and
well,
then they
there's no
just
hard
cut
feelings.
away.
It's a different group of people. You know, if there's somewhere you can fit me in, you know, like they said there was just no good way to fit him in. What him not even filming that little regeneration scene kind of tells me that maybe that story's not exactly true. Maybe he is still a pompous ass, like I've been saying all these years.
He was too busy being
Apparently, he thinks he's a Shakespearean
unrecognizable in
thespian.
Thor 2.
Yeah, unrecognizable in Thor 2. And
Speaking a made-up language.
yeah.
I was like, this could be anybody. This does not have to be Eccleston.
Well, he played Destro in G.I. Joe. Yeah, and I'm sure our UK listeners, I'm sure somebody's going to be like, you know, here in the UK, no, I've looked up what he's done in the UK. He's no Sean Connery. like how he says he is. I do think though when they were regenerating John Hurt, I think they probably had an image of Eccleston underneath before he went to Tennant.
Well, I
because
think
he starts looking a little younger and then it shifts.
To get a little Eccleston-y, and then I loved when he said too though before he regenerated something about like I hope the ears are less prominent or something in the next one.
No, they tied it all together very well. They didn't show much of the War Doctor's TARDIS, but what we did see, it had roundlets, which I liked. It was similar to what Eccleston and Tennant had in design. So, I mean, it was such, to me it was such a well. I don't think the Zygons were used enough. I don't think the Daleks were used enough, but I can get past all that.
Yes.
I think it was much more of a. It wasn't meant to be an action episode, you know. The part with the two Kate Stewarts and everything was pretty good, you know. I do love when they decide to save Gallifrey instead of destroy it. When he says, "Oh, thank you, Bad Wolf Girl," and Tennant's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, Bad Wolf, what?
Because he knew exactly who it was. Which, I mean, I think that was, again, I think that was a great way to tie her in. I don't think you could have did it any other way to make it any better. Mm-hmm. And it was a way where she wasn't obnoxious. Her character wasn't whiny and like hitting on the Doctor the whole time. Or like, no, it was.
There was no flirting.
No,
She was actually quite funny in this.
yeah, she was really good in this. I liked it.
I liked the parts where she was like, no more, no more, no more. Like,
Yeah.
that whole bit with her, that was my favorite part with her. So,
No, there was a lot of good in this episode.
Yeah, I did wish, even though I knew, it's not like I was expecting, and I was like, if Stephen Moffat doesn't have all the classic Doctors in there, I would just kept going, I hope he found some way to, and then when Tom Baker came in, I'm like, okay. This is,
You know,
this is
if he
good
was
for
gonna
me.
if he was gonna pick a Doctor, a classic one, it was gonna be Tom Baker because that's the most popular one. And we've gone through this before. He's not your favorite. He's not my favorite. He's good. Did a great job. A lot of excellent episodes. Just not my favorite. But because he was the longest running one, he was kind of the icon. He was kind of the logo for
and
Doctor
he's the
Who.
oldest living Doctor.
And he's the oldest
so
living Doctor.
It kind of made sense.
If they
to
had dyed
go.
his hair and he had lost a little weight somehow, he probably could have still. Because if you really look at him, he's not that bad looking because of his age. I mean, he's not, you know. But if he had dyed
he's
his hair, it
still
would have
pretty
looked
much
a lot
instantly
younger.
recognizable.
Yeah.
And if you could have, especially because he has the scarf, the hat, the curls around his.
I did like at the end when they walk out and they're all standing there. Mm-hmm. At first, I thought maybe that was really them from behind because if you look at Colin Baker, the hair is really, really light. Where in the show he was blonde, but it looks really kind of gray. So I almost wonder if they did have them stand there.
They have.
And then the front was different.
Did you see or was that was probably just in the theater? They had a little making of after it.
No, it's
and you saw that scene, and you saw they were just people dressed as the Doctors, and they had like the little green points on their face for
the
them to
CGI.
digitally
Oh
put
wow! Wow, okay.
in the faces afterwards. But they were just people dressed with the hair.
Well,
and
it could have just been them dressed as themselves. I mean, Jesus. Oh, some of them are a little chunkier now, but still.
They did show that clearly in the
just to prove it.
which was narrated by Colin Baker, the making of special afterwards.
Now the prequels. I liked the McGann one. I didn't watch any other ones. They're like,
Same
oh,
here.
this one shows what the war with the Daleks was like as a first-person shooter. Yeah, I played Halo. I don't need to see it.
That one didn't really add.
I don't
a lot,
see how it's
no.
going to add anything. Oh, I'm sorry, but when you're a race that can control space and time, and you're as powerful as the Time Lords and so technologically advanced, and you're fighting a foe that's the ultimate foe in the universe and indestructible, except for the Eye Stalk, you shouldn't really be getting your butts kicked that bad. Because, I mean, Earth has repelled them a few times. Even without the Doctor's help, Earth didn't, like, fall quickly, you know? So I would like to have found out maybe there was some sabotage involved. Maybe they hit people on the inside. You know, in the book series, that's kind of how things work, you know? So you never really know. I thought the way they had Gallifrey looked cool. I mean,
Yeah.
But when he's walking through the desert to his hut, it reminded me of Star Wars on Tatooine with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It was very Star Wars-esque.
Yeah,
And that whole segment, and it was cool. And he had the right outfit for like an apocalyptic battle kind of thing. He looked good. I mean, they had it right. It was very Star Wars-esque, I thought. And I'm a Star Wars fan too, so it doesn't bother me. But
yeah, it was a little Star Warsy.
Is that two moons? No, two suns. But we thought that me and Paul were both like, that's very Tatooine. It's very Star Wars-esque there, and it worked. I mean, it was fine. But let's see.
But yeah, that to me that the other thing about the making of special that was really funny, they had McGann, like they had everybody then like wish Doctor Who a happy 50th.
Sure.
So they had David Tennant, Matt Smith, John Hurt, but then they had Tom Baker,
I
Colin
think I have
Baker.
a copy of this. I just haven't watched
But
it yet.
the funniest thing is Paul McGann wishes a happy 50th. And I was thinking, like, couldn't they have done that before? He is obviously filming the mini-sode. So his face, he's got, like, blood and, like, bruises on his face. And I'm like, why couldn't they have had him wish Doctor Who a happy 50th before they put the makeup to make him...
You know what bugs me about the Minnesota? How did he die? How was he supposedly dead?
The TARDIS, he was on the spaceship and the spaceship crashed.
Right, what
he
happened?
couldn't get into his TARDIS because he wasn't going to labor that fast.
Okay. Cass's body after the crash was there and not burned to a crisp or anything, and he's a Time Lord. When their bodies go through severe trauma, as long as they're not cut into pieces, they regenerate. Mm-hmm. So, wouldn't he have just regenerated?
Well, I wondered if maybe the point was supposed to be that he would regenerate maybe soon, but
or was it that they wanted him to regenerate?
They wanted him to choose his form, and they kept saying you only have like 5 minutes. So,
well, I thought they wanted him to choose his fate. Really, like I think they held it over him I think it was that they could have killed him because they wanted him. They blackmailed him to fight in the war. Basically, what they did is what I think, because it's a relatively new thing where if you kill a Time Lord quick enough, they can't regenerate. That was never like that. I mean, you knew they weren't indestructible, but not to like how it's shown nowadays.
Yeah, I just thought that was their idea.
But I thought it was funny how he was more banged up than she was.
Choose.
Well, yeah, they did, and I thought I thought it was funny how he was more banged up than her dead body, which I didn't quite understand that.
No. But yeah, I thought the idea was that he could like choose, and maybe that was like he maybe would regenerate anyway, but they had like managed to hold it off so that he could make this choice.
That could be. That would make sense.
Because they wanted him to choose to fight in the Time War.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And that was a nice little reference back to the Brain of Morbius, the Sisterhood of Karn.
Yes, it was. Good point. I knew I was thinking that I saw them before somewhere. Although, wouldn't that woman have almost passed for an old version of Romana?
I could see that.
But yeah, your theory makes sense. That makes sense of why they would do it that way. Because he was still on the ship. He didn't, like, burn up in the atmosphere. Take note, Russell T. Davis. The 50th anniversary written by Stephen Moffat. That's how you write a finale.
Agreed.
First off, he tied up a lot of RTD's loose ends. And his own. So,
I'm really hopeful, though, that the Christmas special will explain why the TARDIS is exploding.
I'm really hopeful the Christmas special shows me some more, like, give me at least 20 minutes of Capaldi. Just 20.
I don't know if you'll get your wish or not. Because it's going to be Matt Smith's big send-off.
Well, God's not going to give me that wish because I already got my wish for this weekend. Looks like I'm waiting till fall. Well, they said it's going to be more episodes next year, though. 16, I think.
Oh, wow.
So I don't think it's going to... I think it'll be midsummer or something, because otherwise it's just going to run into...
That would be nice, but... Although last time they said, like, fall with... maybe it was the last season with Amy and Rory. Did they say fall? And then it really came back in, like...
It was like August.
So,
yeah, I mean, October's fall. I mean, so...
So I'm hoping they mean fall, like August fall. Which is not really fall.
I hated seeing Rory go. And sad because you would have thought that, I mean, personally, I would have thought I would have hated seeing Amy go because I kind of was crushing on Amy, and I like red hair. She had red hair, and, but her attitude towards the end of it was, I just didn't like it. I didn't like her personality. Rory, I thought, was becoming great, and and he's such a good actor, and they don't give him shit.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a show with David Tennant on
Broadchurch.
Yeah, and he was excellent in the parts I saw of it. I didn't watch the whole show because it's kind of long, but what I saw of him, he was great, and Tennant was great. I mean, Doctor Who has had some good actors, and sometimes they're just so underutilized. John Hurt, though, I would love to watch him again.
Oh, there was part of me that almost didn't want him to regenerate and just go, could you give us like a little season of his? Give him a spin-off.
Yeah.
Let's do the adventures of the War Doctor now.
Yeah. Or
I loved how he was.
Well, there's nothing to say that.
Distractions about how childlike David and Matt both were compared to him.
Well, and
Because he was-
that harkens back to the Three Doctors, though, also, because that's how Hartnell was. Hartnell was very critical of the Dandy and the Clown. Mm-hmm. And it was almost the same thing, because you had the hip, cool David Tennant, who would be the Dandy in old terms, and then you had Matt Smith, who acted like the intergalactic hobo. I mean, he dressed better, but he's more the clown. It was very Three Doctor-esque to me. And it was the good points about that episode that they played off on. Mm-hmm. So I really... I agree. I like that. I like how really, though, for most of it, yes, he pointed out that Matt Smith and David Tennant were both more childish than him, but Matt Smith was really made out to be more the child of the group. Because even by Tennant, there were plenty of times where, when Tennant confronted him about how did you forget that number, like that look on Tennant's face is what I miss about his years. When David Tennant turns on that seriousness and that almost anger at somebody, it's so much different than the way Matt Smith looks. But I just loved how, he's like, didn't you ever count? Didn't you ever this? And Matt Smith's like, no, I forgot. I don't remember. It's been 400 years. And then David Tennant just rattles the number off and just turns and confronts him about it. I thought it was great. I thought that whole scene was great. All three of them. I think all three of them played really well off each other, too. I don't think there was anything I didn't like. There's nothing in this episode I could say that I really didn't like other than, the desktop's glitching.
No, I don't. I mean, there's some things that, like I said, when watching it, I'm going how are we explaining that he seemingly went back to being Tom Baker? But I'm like, I don't care.
I don't think
There's a little part of my brain that's going this doesn't completely make sense. I'm like, but I don't care.
I think it was just done in as a riddle, and I don't think it was necessarily meant to be he went back to being Tom Baker. I think Tom Baker was meant to be a kooky old man who said, this could be you one day. Not thinking, not saying that this is really you, but he did kind of say it. Yeah.
Old favorite.
So I don't know.
In terms of faces, so
I don't know.
But
then that could have been just a throwaway line because he's in it.
Well,
we're revisiting the old face of him.
Well, that's why I'm not I may be stuck on the fact that Stephen Moffat still hasn't explained why the TARDIS is exploding. But explaining why Tom Baker was there isn't something that I'm like, he has to explain this. I'm like, I don't care.
No, it's fine with me. It's completely fine with me.
I was just happy to see him. It doesn't have to make sense completely. It worked in the story. He doesn't have to explain that in a further episode and show why Tom Baker... I don't care. I just was happy he was there.
Yeah, I was too. Now, on to some other of the special material. Peter Davidson's The Five-ish Doctors. Which, if you haven't seen it, watch it. Because it's really funny. Basically, it shows cuts between Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy constantly checking voicemail, asking people... I think Davison calls Moffat's office. He's like, why don't you want to leave my phone number?
They all call because then he's going which one is it this time?
Yes.
And they're like...
Because they want to be in it, and they're all like, "Hey, if you want me for the 50th, I'm available." And I love McCoy. He's like, I'm filming this movie called The Hobbit. It's kind of a big production, But if you can, if you need me, I think I could find time to work you in. And,
And he wears that Hobbit T-shirt throughout the whole beginning.
So they're filming it, and it cuts between them, and then I don't remember. I gotta watch it again because I was watching it kind of like on my lunch break, and I had people talking to me at work, so I didn't really see it straight through. But they all decide, okay, we're gonna put ourselves in the special. We're gonna sneak in, and we're gonna find a way to, whatever. So they're walking through all the sets, and they see the new TARDIS, and again, they're like, I don't like it. It's too dark. And Colin Baker's trying to see the controls. Like, I can't see what I'm doing here. What happened to the well-lit, open-air TARDIS we had?
Well, I like when they all go into the TARDIS at the Doctor Who experience, and they're
Yes.
like, this isn't the real TARDIS.
Yeah.
Like they thought, like Peter Davison thought they were getting into the TARDIS, and they'd use the TARDIS to get in or something. Like, this isn't the real TARDIS. It's just a...
Yep.
So then they're all just huddled in a little box.
I saw that. They grabbed their jackets. Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh.
And the funniest part to me is how they're dressed, because Davison is wearing a T-shirt
Yeah.
that looks like his outfit. Which
With
I
the
think was
jacket over it.
With the jacket over it. So then they're running around. They lock the who does the voice of the Daleks?
Nick Briggs.
They lock Nick Briggs and the other guys in the room, and they take the place of the Daleks, of them and the Daleks. And then they get out of it, and they're like, wait, what's... They're like, oh, well, we had you for the whole day. You're supposed to be the Zygons, too. And Sylvester McCoy's like, what's a Zygon? Because they were only in the one episode. But they're being kind of chased by security in a Scooby-Doo-esque kind of way.
And they managed to
Yes.
sneak into the studio because of the help of David Tennant
Yes.
propping
The
the
door
door
open.
with a fire extinguisher.
So they're being chased by security, and they get to this gate that's their way out, but it's locked. And then this guy goes, hey, I need to talk to you guys. And they turn around, and you thought they're busted. Next scene is they're signing autographs for him. He's like, oh, it's been such an honor, because the report was there's 3 weirdly dressed men running around. But since it's a Doctor Who shoot, and they're the classic doctors, he's like, these must not be them. Can I have your signatures? So, it's just hilarious. So, at the end, not at the end, but you see Moffat editing the footage with the video editor. And he goes, yeah, we could probably get rid of that Dalek part. We don't need it. And you're like, oh, they did all that work to sneak into the special, and they're not in it. And then Moffat turns around, and he either leaves or turns around, and the guy's watching it, and he watches as they're made into the Zygons that take the place of the statues. So he doesn't say that to Moffat. He's like, no, it looks good. We can use this. Which now, they obviously were at the right sets, and they were obviously at the studio that everything was filmed at. Could they possibly have actually been the statues? I mean, Moffat would do something like that, and those 3 would do something like that also.
But that would
I mean,
be
not
a long
sneaking
time.
not sneaking into it, but
But
it
that's
looked
a
like
long time
it looked like
standing
Davison
there.
had been shooting that whole thing for a while too, though. It doesn't look like that was like a quick put together. I mean, it looked like it had probably been going on since they started filming the 50th. Because I mean, if you thought that Davison and Baker and McCoy were disgruntled and unhappy, I don't think so, because they filmed this and they had the full support. I mean, Moffat's in it. Russell Davis he leaves Davison like a 20-minute like voicemail about why he wants to help write it. It's just they have every person. I mean, Colin Baker's kids are in it. Davison's daughter's in it. I mean, it just
His 2 boys are also in it, and then
his boys are in it, and then you have Tennant and Matt Smith and like you said,
John
Nicholas
Barrowman.
Briggs and John Barrowman, and I mean the entire
and Pertwee's
Pertwee's son was. I think
Yeah.
Sean Pertwee was in it too. His son,
Yes.
his son and grandson. I mean, they knew they probably.
Well, and all those companions, because in
Yeah.
his dream, those are all different companions floating around in
and
his
then
head.
Janet Fielding wakes him up in his head.
And Adric gets
They don't-
blown up.
They don't want you. So I mean, it was great, and it shows that they probably wanted a piece of it, but they knew that they just wouldn't fit in. You know, but you have to wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were underneath those.
I hope so.
I mean, you never know. I mean, it would be a very neat nod to it, because it wouldn't have to be in the whole scene. Because in the first scene where you first see them, when Matt Smith bends down, that's only a couple seconds, and then the camera cuts and moves. So they could have filmed that short scene with them there, which is what you saw on his thing, and then replaced them with whatever. But they obviously were on set during filming, you know, or at least in that during the process. Maybe not while they were live filming, but still. Well, no, because they were there when Matt Smith was. Unless they filmed like, see, that's the thing. Would they have filmed that segment with Matt Smith doing it with them there as like the little joke thing, and then refilmed it? Probably not. I wouldn't think. Who knows? I'm gonna hope in my heart that they were there.
Mm-hmm. Also, Ian McKellen and
that's right. Peter Jackson was in it. Yeah. I'm working on this little film called The Hobbit. Or I'm working on this film called The Hobbit. It's kind of a big deal with a big name director. But if you need me, I could break away.
Well, I like when he acts like, we have to sit around because inspiration may strike Peter Jackson at any moment. So there's a lot of just sitting around in my trailer. Waiting for inspiration.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot. I mean, everything. I have not watched Adventure in Space and Time yet, so I'm gonna let you two talk about that.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was.
It was a good history lesson for those who want to know how Doctor Who came about.
It looked like it was extremely well. First off, did anybody else notice how much night this looked like a movie?
Mm-hmm.
It did.
And from what I saw of Adventures in Space and Time, I mean, they put some real effort into the 50. I mean, complain all you want about whatever, but all the stuff surrounding the 50th, the Doctors Revisited, you know, everything they did, pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was... Well, I was thinking about how they were talking about they didn't have the budget when they were filming The Doctor's Wife to build, like, an older control room.
Right.
And yet, Adventure in Space and Time, there they were, recreating the...
They just took it out of storage.
I was like, oh, they got the budget for the 50th to build a whole flashback to the past in a TARDIS console room, and...
Wow, I mean, yeah, you're also talking about the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years after that.
I think they knew that this was going to happen. This had been in the works long before the Doctor's Wife. There's no way that they were...
I mean, I think they knew they were going to do... They wanted to do that, the docudrama. And I think they knew that they wanted to give you more than... I knew it was going to be more than a 45-minute episode. When everyone's like,
yeah.
oh, it's all... Like, come on, they're not that stupid. Even the 5 Doctors was like 2.5 hours.
I think it was an hour and a half.
Hour and a half? 2 hours. 30 minutes each piece? 4 pieces?
Because I think they're like... Well, they're like 97 minutes or something when you add them up. They're like... Because they're all like 25 minutes
so just shy of 2 hours. I mean, but still, I mean, you knew they were going to give you I mean, you knew it wasn't going to just be 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it shows it shows if they have the time, they can write a story that works well, like consistently.
Yeah, yeah. There weren't a lot of. The only loose ends on this were things that I'm assuming, will be picked up to. Where is Gallifrey? That's going to be, I'm assuming, a major theme in the next season.
I hope so. I want to see that be a major theme in the next season. I think it'd be a great idea. So what else was So how was Adventure in Space and Time? I mean, we both said good, but let's hear like a little, you know.
I mean, because we met Verity, we met all the people who were a part of it, and I don't remember anything else because it's been such a Doctor Who weekend. I saw the most Doctor Who,
Yeah.
than I've seen in the past, so...
Yeah, I thought they did a lot of good showing the whole... I mean, they had to gloss over a lot, because they're covering, like, 4 years of time. So there's some parts I was like, oh, they just kind of skip ahead a little bit. But, I mean, I thought they did a good job. I mean, the end, I think, made me cry, but... looking at Hartnell having to go, that made me sadder than David Tennant leaving. But, and I knew he had to leave. I knew the story. I knew when he left, but still, I thought the ending of it was kind of a tearjerker, and then when he looks over, and I guess I should say that this is a big spoiler that Matt Smith was there at the end. Wasn't expecting that, and I liked that touch. And I don't... Okay. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good tribute. And, yeah, I said they had to gloss over a lot of stuff to cover it all, but you have to do that. You can't make your docudrama 3 years long.
So, I guess that's kind of it, right?
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
I think we've covered most of the 50th celebration weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of the many parts.
I believe so. And for one of the rare times we're all in agreement again that it was good. 'Tis good. So, thanks for joining us on episode 23-ish.
Yes.
We're going to have some surprises for you in the next few episodes. At least the next one or two. Because we've been granted interviews at Chicago TARDIS with some of the stars.
Yay.
So, stay tuned for who, because I don't want to jinx it and I don't want to... But either way, we're going to have some special guests, which would be cool. And probably see if maybe we can get Amanda on the show again. See what she thinks about the 50th. She's more of an old school fan. I'm curious and scared at the same time of what she would think. We're going to see Sarah this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to be there. A couple other podcasters that have contacted us that we talked to are going to be there. So it should be an interesting... well, for me, Saturday, because I'm only going to be there one day. So, yeah. But we'll let you know how it all goes, and we'll post everything, and we'll see if I'm in the mood to take pictures. I have problems taking pictures of people. I have problems approaching them and being like, hey, can I get a photo of you guys? I just feel creepy. But now with the business cards, I can say, hey, we have a podcast and stuff, and I'd like to take a picture of you for the website. Here's the card. Anyways, we'll
we don't want to go.
We don't want to go. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Well, we'll probably see some of you at Chicago TARDIS, only we don't know if you recognize us. If you recognize us, come up and say hi. It's always nice to meet fans.
Yes.
Yes.
So.
I want fans.
Facebook message us if you meet them.
Yeah. And if you don't follow us on Facebook already, please follow us.
Or Twitter.
Or Twitter. Or the website. I think you could subscribe by email. But it's there too. It's where we host everything. So, all right, take care. And
I don't want to go.